Indie Beacon Radio with hostess Rox Burkey. Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
So welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where I am so delighted to be able to talk to Red O'Loughlin this afternoon. Red, how are you? This is not our first time to chit chat.
I am excellent as always, Rox, always. Some days even better.
The nice thing about Red is he is a researcher at the cellular level. He is a writer, and he writes about living healthy and living young, and he's a speaker, and he's the most uplifting person I ever have a chance to talk to. So I am thrilled to have you here. And so I want to kind of talk about something that's probably close to home for many people that are listening to this, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, we have people that are stuck inside right now. The pandemic has done that for us. And in the case of a lot of people, not just those that are aging, but I think they're getting hurt a little bit more, this separation from people. How are you seeing that in what you're doing?
I don't see anybody because I'm stuck in my house.
Okay, fair.
No, you described it. In fact, I was thinking today it's been 4 or 5 days since I actually drove anywhere in the car. And so I just took my phone out, I started the car just to charge the battery up. It shuts off automatically after 10 minutes, but I try to do that about every 3 or 4 days to start the car, even if I don't even go outside. But basically, you're right. Cabin fever affects people different ways. If you can get up and visit people and do things that you normally do, well, that's great. But when you are really limited on who you can see, when you can see them, and you have to wear a mask and whatever other precautions you have to take, that does beat people down. They might be able to handle it for a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months, but it's been more than that. And that stress does a lot of things to the body. It does things to the mind. It does things to the middle, adds inches in weight and fat. It's not a good thing. So it's one of those things that we have to tackle literally on a daily basis, more than once a day, in order to thrive in our cave-like environment.
That's a really good way to describe it. And I can actually tell you I'm battling my COVID body right now. So I'm there with you. Do you have some nice, handy tips and tricks? Now, you write some amazing books, but your blogging is probably what I've seen the most lately. Do you have some tips that we can kind of talk about and where you have seen people benefit from them?
Many, many different ones. My last 4 days, I think I've gone into weight loss, fat loss, what causes fat to burn, what stops fat from burning, those kinds of things, what causes fat to go into a fat cell and come out. But, when you're looking at our environment that we're in, the things that really and truly become important is that when we are in our house and we're battened down and we're binge watching TV, but we're also binge eating comfort food. And whether that be pizza that we order or whatever we happen to fix, it's not the right kinds of food that we want to be eating on a daily basis. So number one tip is look at the diet you're on. Is it the same thing? Is it a healthy diet? If it's not, then maybe you need to binge that one day for pizza and pasta and bread and whatever else. Same thing goes with alcohol. If you're having a beer a night, that's fine, not a big deal. You're having a couple 6-packs a night, maybe there's a deal there. So you have to take a look. What are the foods that you're eating? If they're mainly green, if they're mainly yellow and red and various colors, probably nothing wrong with them at all. If you're sitting there and it's mostly rice or baked potatoes or pasta, that kind of thing, again, moderation. What I tell a lot of people, my number one tip is use a smaller plate. I did this about 5 or 6 years ago. I went to a salad plate. You fill up the salad plate and that's it. No seconds. That's all you can have. And when you try to cram as much stuff as you can onto a salad plate, things have a tendency to be piled on top or whatever. So no piling, no seconds. And the other thing you can do with that is when you get finished feeding that morsel into your mouth, put the fork down and savor the taste, try to taste what exactly is in it. If you happen to have something that has a taste or a flavor to it, parsley is one that has a very distinct
Right.
taste. Try to identify the tastes on your taste buds. Try to identify as it's coming into your mouth the aroma, the smell, the scent of the food that you're having. If you happen to have something, a little bit of cayenne pepper on it or whatever, just let that kind of savor on your tongue. There's a lot of things we can do to take our comfort food and change our comfort level so now that we're enjoying what we're actually eating. So a smaller plate, no piling, no seconds, that's probably tip number one. Number two would be to, as I said, you get done with that plate, you push it aside. I don't drink anything while I'm eating. Most of the fluids are in the foods that I eat. So if you're finding yourself eating foods that require a lot of washing it down, then maybe what you might be doing is adding too much liquid to your digestive system, because that acid is supposed to be at a certain level. When you, every time you sip something, drink water, drink whatever you're drinking, you're diluting that stomach acid. And you don't want to do that, especially the older you get, because our digestive systems are just not that functional when you start diluting everything. Now you have the food that you're eating, which may be very healthy, but you're not allowing the body to digest it properly. And so if you cut back and 30 minutes before eating, yeah, that's fine. Have a glass of iced tea, water, whatever you want. Wait 30 minutes until after eating to go ahead and have another glass of whatever you're having. Now, if you're changing over to wine or beer, be aware that alcohol and the body are not synonymously, as far as, that feels good, but the body identifies it as a poison. It doesn't know what it is. It actually turns it into, I believe, an acetaldehyde. But anyway, what happens is your entire digestive system quits, stops, nothing happens. The body will get rid of all of the alcohol before it goes back to digesting. So if you have a big meal, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and you have a couple, 3 or 4 glasses of wine, you're sitting there watching TV, you're falling asleep, you go in and you lay down, you crash, and then 1:57 in the morning, all of a sudden you're wide awake. And that's because now all of a sudden your body got turned back on to digestion because it was processing the alcohol out of the body through the liver. And so be careful about how late you eat at night and how much adult beverage you have with it. Those things all in moderation are fine. The earlier the better. But if you're trying to eat up to the point of going to bed, you're probably going to suffer a little bit on the quality of your sleep. So those are our 3 easy tips just to be aware of. If you can't.
And I love 3. The power of 3 is amazing. And that really kind of gets right back to the books you have. Right now, you have 3 books out. And I know that the Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging has those tips in there, right?
They do. They absolutely do. I talk about diet, a lot of other things in there, but sleep is critical. I have a section there on alcohol. I have a section there on the various things that you really need to know. There's a lot of good tips in there. I not only tell you what, I tell you how, and I tell you why, because I'm the why kind of guy. I want to know why something happens.
So people that are sitting at home and really, don't need to be binge watching, might want to try binge reading on your books and see if they can't pick up some extra tips and tricks.
I see nothing wrong with binge reading whatsoever, whether it's my books or somebody else's books. I read 3 or 4 generally at a time. I try to have something light, where mystery or espionage or whatever. I have one that I'm finishing up on World War II code breaking. I have another one on Los Alamos, particularly right now since we're looking at the 75th anniversary of Hiroshima or something. But the things that, and then I have a couple other ones that are on my up here in the office that I read on various aspects of networking or social media or whatever it may happen to be. And I have 1 or 2 books that are sitting around every so often I just bring up because I need to know something more about publishing, which is one of the areas that I'm in. In fact, on next Wednesday, I'll be doing Houston West Chamber of Commerce, how to write and publish your book for free. And it's going to be a webinar just like we're doing right now.
And see, that's a perfect thing. That's a perfect pause point for us, Red. We need to take a short break to hear from our sponsors. Now I want to come back and talk a little bit more about that. So stick around. I'm Rox Burkey.
And I'm Charles Brakefield. We're award-winning co-authors, Brakefield and Burkey, of the Enigma book series. There are 10 books in the series, with book number 11 planned for release in January 2020.
Each story has a central technology focus ranging from identity theft to cryptocurrency and now AI wars. These adult techno thrillers pit cyber good guys against cyber thugs across the darknet.
In our world, technology is today's weapon of choice. You can enjoy ebook format, paper, or Audible. We want your feedback.
Until the next story, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, hello there, my friends. My name is Randy James, independent voiceover producer in the Dallas, Texas area, available to write and record a 30-second commercial, much like the one you're hearing right now. It's a great way to help increase awareness and exposure to your book title. It's easy to do. Simply call me and we'll brainstorm on a few ideas, and in a few hours, I'll whip something up and send you a digital file ready to use. Remember, call or text me, Randy James, at 214-762-1942.
Welcome to IndieLector.store, an online bookstore where the discriminating reader can find award-winning books. IndieLector.store is not a big corporation, so we can give up to 80% of the sales directly to the author. Help us support them by buying a great book at IndieLector.store.
Join us for the 6th Annual Authors Marketing Event in Granbury, Texas on July 23rd to the 25th, 2021, where authors share ideas and learn from the professionals over a 2-day weekend. Receive your book marketing certification from the only organization in the world that has been doing it for 5 years, Authors Marketing Guild, a membership-based organization that supports authors from around the world. Learn more at ame.authorsmarketingguild.com. Sponsored by IndieLector.store, a bookstore that pays authors their fair share.
Hello, I am the author and poet Denise Bryson. I am the author of The Things That Cross My Mind, Love's Reality, both in book and audio form. I am also noted as one of the best poets of 2011. I have 2 new projects coming up. One is the Blinky series, where Blinky tells us all about our coins and our bills for our children. I also have a book coming out called Say Ye. It's quotes from Denise Bryson, just inspirational and that will help you along the way.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio, and I'm here with one of my friends, Red O'Loughlin, who is an amazing author, and he writes about how to live long and live young, even while you're aging. It's just amazing, and he's a great speaker. So, Red, when we took off, you was talking about your webinar. So I want you to investigate that just a little bit more, especially for people that are at home. What can they do on that front?
I spend at least 1 or 2 Zoom meetings a day like we're doing right now, either through networking, through some kind of educational. Gary Vee, for instance, just before this thing started, I was going through LinkedIn. I was mentioning this to Alan a little while ago. And Gary Vee has a webinar tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Houston time. And Tea with Gary Vee. And I happen to like him a lot. And so I signed up for that one. I sign up and listen to at least, I can say minimum 1 every other day of things that will improve me, whether it's spiritually, whether it's economically, but I try to catch a gambit of things. And one of them happens to be in the area of publishing and writing books and the various aspects of that. I speak every month at the Houston West Chamber of Commerce. Normally I am their health and wellness advisor, and I talk about something there. But for whatever reason, lately I've been speaking probably 5-6 times on some aspects of writing a book or publishing a book, or just anyway, some aspect of book things, whatever. I'm talking about formatting books. I'm talking about the various aspects of the process that you go along.
Right.
It's kind of crazy because sometimes you can think, okay, is there an easier way to explain something? And I have a certain way that I do it, but if I listen to other people, then maybe their way of presenting the exact same information makes more sense or more concise. And so I try to improve myself by saying, well, how does somebody else tell me, how do they format a book for an ebook in .mobi, for instance? That's kind of the things I want to learn how to do. Is there an easier way to do it? Is there an easier way to explain it? So it's self-education.
So one of your other books that I really like is No Matter What, You Can Do It. And I'll tell you, this conversation reminds me of that, because not only as we get a little bit older do we need to keep our mind active and learning stuff, but when we're shut in like we are now, just watching Netflix all day or watching whatever your favorite channel is all day isn't necessarily going to stimulate you to learn something, right?
I agree with you. I find that I know I'm addicted to TV. I have been my entire life. I work in my office. I do not turn on the TV set until about 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I leave my office. I go downstairs. My wife's still awake. We'll sit there and watch 1 or 2 shows and then call it quits around midnight. I might read for another half hour or so. But I limit my TV to specific things that my wife and I can enjoy together. But with regard to binge watching, if you sometimes you just need that little bit of diversion of the mind. You just want to sit there and get away from everything, and that's fine. But you don't need 15 hours of it in a row. A couple hours might be fine because you're watching a 2-hour movie or whatever. But take a look at what's going on. Dr. Maxwell Maltz wrote this book called Cybernetics back about 1950, I believe. And he was a cosmetic surgeon, and he found out that even though you might have fixed this big scar across the top of your face and you can't see it, people in their own mind's eye see that same thing even though it isn't there.
Right.
And so he started talking about the subconscious mind, which is why I wrote that book, No Matter What You Can Do It, because I was really enamored and just flabbergasted by, wow, I just never knew that about my brain. And when you start understanding, well, how does the brain work? How does your subconscious allow you to do things or stop you from doing things? And you find out that if you have a failure in life, and I use the one dieting, for instance, if you have success, you'll always have success. If you have failure, you'll always have failure. But there's ways around that. The brain does not understand the difference between real and imagined. And so if you start imagining success over time and you add emotion to it that you can actually really clamp on and the brain sees it, it's right there in the very front, then that emotion gets pulled right to the front and makes up for a lot of more than just a single memory. It makes up for a whole bunch of them. And so as you're doing that, then your brain starts becoming moldable into an area that you want to go in. And if you tell yourself, no matter what, then you put a little bit of supercharge onto that emotion, because now you're saying to the brain, I have to do this no matter what.
And so that's not just weight loss, though. That's taking on new projects, learning new venues.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So that would be a really, really valuable book for people that want to investigate Red and his writing that they should get into. So what about The Joy of Ageless Health? Which I personally love the cover for that one because it's got the little happy face, but it's blue, which is very interesting.
Ironically, I put 5 different covers out on Facebook, and I asked everybody to pick A or B or B or C or whatever, and I had 90% of the people pick that one. It wasn't my first choice. Nobody liked my first choice, but I'm not writing the book for me. I'm writing it for other people. But what I did in that particular book was identify the primary things that you need to know to keep yourself healthy. And if you look at almost every disease starts at the cellular level in the body with chronic inflammation that lasts forever. So how do you start addressing those issues? Well, stress, toxins, radiation, infection, inflammation, diet, and believe it or not, even expectations. But the things that you can control, like my wife had breast cancer several years ago, what was the cause? It's not a single one. But if we look at what was the cause, well, stress, probably. We all have that. Radiation, probably not so much. She doesn't leave that phone going on. Toxins, I don't think so, because we're really careful about what we eat. You start getting down to inflammation, which can be measured, and we get down to diet. And so we figure it's probably a combination of 2 or 3 things, and we start to say, okay, fine, we're going to start changing this and changing that. So we're changing it at the cause level, not knowing what it might be, where we're just kind of blasting it all out and saying, okay, let's control this, this, and this, and see what happens. And she got 5 years of clean bill of health from her oncologist and her surgeon. Absolutely no problem at all. 2 years after her last radiation treatment, we walked 500 miles across Spain on the Camino de Santiago, 500 miles in 30 days. She had no problems at all doing that. And so it's just, if you pay attention to the causes and you treat the causes, then generally things will work out.
Well, I think somewhere, and please correct me because I sometimes misread and misremember, but if you are a person that is, in the late 70s, early 80s, and you follow some of the guidance that you provide, how young can you feel? And I thought I read something around the 60 mark.
Typically speaking, generically, about 15 to 20 years younger than what you are. Now, if you're in really good health, you may even look 15 to 20 years younger than you really are. I'll be 74 in literally a month.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm 7 days older than my wife, almost to the minute.
Oh, wow.
But I feel like my brain is probably right around 24. I think most people's brains kind of stabilize in that mid-20 range. Our bodies, depending on how well we take care of them, are going to be chronologically older or younger than what we really are. Our biological age, that's internal. I've never been on any prescription meds. I have no intention of starting. I eat healthy. I exercise. I do the things I need to do. Every medical test I've had since 1968, I've had flight physicals for 31 years, and I've had an annual physical for every year since then. I retired in 99. I have nothing wrong with any of the tests that I mean, it's always normal.
Yeah.
So if you have normal, then everything should be working right and you shouldn't have any problems. And so that's what's key is you need to get everything to a normal, stabilized level and then maintain it. And that's the key is getting to that level. And then once you're there, it's pretty easy to maintain, but it's kind of hard now if you're not at a level place and all of a sudden something happens and you're 78, 79, 80, and you go down, what I see is people go down and they never quite make it back up again. So they're down here, then they go down again and they go down again. They just never quite get back to that level that they were when they really had joy of life.
There you go. So at that, this is another perfect spot for us to take a short break to hear from our sponsors. So stick around and please come back.
Thank you for watching or listening to Indie Beacon Radio. Our sponsor, IndieLector.store, is the only bookstore that pays authors their fair share for book sales. Help authors to succeed and enjoy a great book by supporting them at IndieLector.store. Enjoy a 10% discount with coupon code SHOPPER20 at IndieLector.store. Coupon valid until December 31st, 2020. That's IndieLector.store, coupon code SHOPPER20.
What started as a love letter to her son has become an international love letter for all parents to their children. Now you can read acclaimed author Shanalee Charbonneau's story to your children. When her son was very sick, she calmed him by singing her own song to him. She turned that song into the book, My Mama Loves Me, I'm Her Little Boy. She wrote 3 more magical books for all parents and kids 6 and under. Available at Indie Lector, Amazon, and all local and national outlets.
Dear Texas is proud to present the Lone Star Festival on May 29, 2021 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., where Texas authors, artists, and creatives come together for a Texas-sized event at the Seguin Coliseum, Seguin, Texas. Sponsored by Indie Lector, Authors Marketing Guild, and the City of Seguin. A perfect event for those who enjoy the creative arts. Register for your free tickets and prizes at lonestar.bookfestival.network. Authors Marketing Guild is a membership-owned organization designed to help authors succeed and learn how to better market and sell themselves and their books. Join us at authorsmarketingguild.com and receive so many benefits you'll wonder why you didn't join sooner. That's authorsmarketingguild.com.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon. I'm here with Red O'Loughlin, and we have had so much fun talking. It's always a pleasure, Red. So in this segment, I really want to make sure that people can reach out and watch some of your webinars that are coming up or read some of your blogs. So let's kind of talk about some of the next events that you have scheduled, which is not easy during these times. So
Actually, I'm finding myself being overbooked for things, and I'm having to say I can't make this one, and it happens. But regardless, I mentioned earlier next Wednesday, the 12th of August, is every morning 10 a.m. Central Time. Houston West Chamber of Commerce has a webinar, and it's generally on networking, professionalism, health, those kinds of things. And so I am the health and wellness guru for that particular event every single month. This month I'll be doing an extra bit of deal on authoring and writing. But beyond that, if you really want to know what's going on in my website, I post a blog every single day. I've been doing that since the first of the year. it's what, 215 or something like that in a row now, or somewhere like that. But if there's something coming up, that's generally where I'm going to tell people. I have a Facebook page, Red O'Loughlin Author, which is my business page. Again, that's a good place to go. If there's something going on in my life that I may be doing something, I'll tell people there. I'll tell people my personal website page. I'm involved in LinkedIn. Those are probably LinkedIn and Facebook are my two primary places. Instagram, not as much, but that comes and goes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know that you really like people. I mean, that's part of how you got involved in all of this. It's just passion for people. So when people visit you on Facebook or they go to your website and they make a comment or send an email or whatever, you reply to them. It's not somebody behind that curtain, is it?
No, it's all me. The only person I have behind the curtain is my wife, who's my proofreader for my blogs. And that's the only time that something goes out of my hands and she gives it back to me, and okay, fine, I'll fix those things. Thank you very much. And because I write something, and I write every day, I don't miss a day. I write every day, but sometimes you don't see it for the, just that 5 minutes after you write it, it's still in your brain the same way, but it's missing something. So she does that for me. Other than that, I respond to every comment that's in the in my website. I respond to everything on Facebook. So if there's something there, yes, you're going to get Red O'Loughlin to respond. If you send me an email, you send me a text, you send me a any other way of communicating, email, there's another one, I can't think of it right now.
So I think that's really important, especially from someone who's giving guidance. I mean, I know that I could, send you a note and say, Red, today is really a blue day. I'm really having a hard time. Give me a suggestion of what I can do today to feel a little better. You would come up with something that makes that is realistic and share it.
I don't do the fast punching on the phone that most people do. I can't do that. Yeah. So I'll tell you, let's go to email where I can type 80 words a minute and it comes straight from the brain to the fingertips. Or I'll say, let's just talk on the phone, because sometimes it's a whole lot easier to hear the emotion in somebody's voice and pick up those little nuances that aren't quite coming across in the sentences, because we want to make the sentences shorter. So yes, if I can help somebody one way, shape, or form, I will. If I can't help them, I'll tell them right away I can't help them. But I generally know somebody to send them to. I'll tell you, this is what I think you might do. Emotional freedom techniques is something that I really like a lot. And I'll say, this is what you probably need to do. Put this into YouTube along with this guy's name, Brad Yates, for instance. I love Brad Yates. And I say, and whatever topic you want, stress relief. And you're going to find some really good professional help. And you sit there and you follow along, you do the things that they do, and you listen to what they're saying and you say the same things. And if there's other people I need to send you to, I'll do that too.
So I know one of the things you also do is help people connect. And so that's, you send them to other people, but you'll also help them connect to groups, right? So if they want to.
As best I can. I mean, I belong to military groups, writers groups, right, entrepreneurial groups. I belong to several different ones, which is why I'm kind of boxed in on everybody wants to do a 6 o'clock webinar. And I got 3 of them scheduled for Thursday night. And I can't make all 3. Right. But yes, if there's a way I can push somebody in a direction that I know the people there will help them, because I like those people and they really do take an interest in helping other people like us, then yes, absolutely. Why not?
Exactly. So if I'm a first-time Red O'Loughlin fan and I've decided I really want to pick one of your books, before we close, what's the book that you'd recommend for them to start with?
Well, I would ask a question or two. What is your interest? Are longevity? The longevity book. If you want just something to be able to control your life a little bit better, no matter what, is probably a very, very good book to get your mind straight and know how to talk to yourself. If you just want really good health, then The Joy of Ageless Health is probably your best bet. So it depends on what your specific interest is, and that's where I would ask a question or two. And okay, fine, this is what I would recommend. And more than likely, I'd probably even send you a free PDF.
Well, there you go. Red, I am so sorry. We are out of time, but I really have enjoyed talking with you, and I know that all the listeners are going to enjoy it too. So reach out to Red O'Loughlin. He's on the web. He's on Facebook. His phone number is showing on here. Do it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. To learn more about Indie Beacon services, to be a guest on the show, or to advertise on our show, please visit our website
Indie Beacon Radio with hostess Rox Burkey. Indie Beacon Radio is produced by B. Allen Bourgeois for Authors Marketing Guild LLC, copyright 2020. Voiceover by Randy James, Lydia Bello, and B. Allen Bourgeois. To be a sponsor of the show or for more information, please email us at info@authorsmarketingguild.com. To be interviewed for the show, please complete the form at radio.authorsmarketingguild.com. Music Always Rejoice by Ramcord of